Hi everyone, welcome to DARI TV, where I bring the classroom to you. I'm Hannah John, and today I'm going to share 3 steps on how you can get a great letter of recommendation from a professor. Stay tuned. At some point, you're probably going to ask your professor for a letter of recommendation. This might be for a postgraduate program or a job opportunity, but whatever the case, it's your job to make sure that you get the best recommendation possible. Before we get started, let's review why a letter of recommendation is so important for you. Application or a resume can only say so much about the applicant, and actually it only covers really the academic qualifications as well as professional experience. A recommendation or reference letter, on the other hand, will give the reader an idea of how you actually work in practice and will give some insight as to how you might be able to fit within the organization. In short, having a great recommendation letter is crucial to getting you one step closer to the position that you want. Before you reach out to anyone, you have to do your homework. What program or position are you applying for, and what are they looking for in an applicant? Let's say that you're applying for a Ph.D. program at another university. A cursory look at the application form means that you should be showing some evidence of your research capability. This not only means that you have a thesis, publications, or potential publications in the pipeline, but that also you've been able to work with scholars in the field and they can attest to your research capabilities and potential. Doing well in class is a bare minimum. Even if you're fantastic in that class and you received an A+, that doesn't mean that you're always on the professor's radar, especially at the time that you need a recommendation. So the bottom line is, you have to be actively reaching out and doing some collaboration well in advance. If you're applying for a job, I assume that you know what skills and qualities they're looking for in an applicant. This can be found in the job description. So they're probably looking at things like technical skill sets and prior experience, but also they're going to ask for recommenders who can attest to your academic ability, professionalism, integrity, creativity, leadership, and ability to work with others. So the question for you is, how well have you been exemplifying these qualities with your recommender? It's crucial for you to build a good track record of these qualities and that you make it obvious to the person who will be recommending you. And the good news is, that's all stuff you can work on from today. If you're applying for a position at an international organization, having someone with a proven track record at an international organization might be very beneficial for you. Someone who understands the organization and has a great reputation is able to attest to your abilities, your passion for this field, as well as your potential for contributing to this environment. The same goes for if you're applying to a PhD program. It might be more helpful for someone in academia, like a professor, to provide a great letter of recommendation rather than someone who's very well known in other spheres like an international organization. That's because what's most crucial is that someone is able to attest to your academic potential, your research potential in university environment. But there's something more important than the name value of the referee, and that's how well this person knows you and to what extent they can attest to your capabilities. You should try to find at least 2 to 3 people in your field that are not only able to attest to your abilities and your character, but also who are willing to do so. This brings us to the third and last step: make it easy for us to help you. Ideally, you should let a potential referee know in person that you'll be asking them for a letter of recommendation. Also, you'd want to give as much time for the referee to write you a great letter. You have to remember that no one is under any obligation to write you a great letter of recommendation. You are asking someone to take time out of his or her busy schedule to vouch for you, so the best thing you can do is to make it easier for this person to help you. If you've already received confirmation that someone will write you a letter of recommendation, it's time to craft a fantastic email. This email should provide all the relevant information your potential referee will need. So my advice is to include the following information in your email. 1. What position are you applying to? 2. What qualifications is this organization looking for and why are you a good fit? And 3. By when and how the letter should be prepared. Please try to minimize email ping pong and provide all relevant information at the forefront. In your email, I would also link the job description or program description in the email, your most recent resume, as well as a cover letter. Again, try to provide as much relevant information that is helpful to the referee as possible. So I've provided for you a great email template that you might be able to use when you're reaching out to those who will be writing a letter of recommendation. So let's assume that you're applying for a PhD program and you're asking your professor to write you a letter of recommendation. So why don't we read this letter together? Dear Professor, last name, comma. I hope this email finds you well. I am first name, last name, student number, and I wanted to follow up on a recent conversation we had about your willingness to write a letter of recommendation. Thank you again for agreeing to write this letter, and I know your input will be invaluable in helping me apply successfully for this program. So here you're providing a formal introduction of yourself, following up on a conversation that you had, and thanking again the professor for writing this letter of recommendation. As you know, I am passionate about research and sustainability and would like to continue my studies by pursuing a Ph.D. program at a specific university. I was fortunate enough to work with you on a previous research paper on environmental sustainability of Korean multinational corporations, and I'm happy to say that one of my papers has been accepted at a specific journal. I have attached a copy of the final draft for your perusal. So the rest of the email is going to be focusing on what you would like your professor to emphasize in the letter of recommendation. Again, this is for a PhD program, and you're reminding the professor about your specific area of interest, some of the work that you've also engaged in with this professor, and hopefully that will jog some memories about his or her work. If you don't have published or forthcoming papers, you might also talk a little bit about some of the working papers that you have in the pipeline. So for example, based on the research that we conducted, I am now working on another paper entitled, and then you give the title of your working paper. This is to try to show that you're continuing to work on your research even after your work with this particular professor. The program I am applying to has made it clear that research potential is the most important factor they're considering. I have highlighted this in my resume and research proposal attached for your reference, and it would be helpful if you could emphasize this point as well. In these documents, it gives the recommender even more information to work with, how he or she can streamline the recommendation to sound very consistent with the overall tone of your application. The more information you can provide, the better. Lastly, the program asks that letters of recommendation be uploaded on the website by a specific date. You should be receiving a link from the university, at which point you can upload the file. Thank you again for your generosity, and please let me know if you have any questions. Sincerely, your name. So at this point, you should be well on your way to getting a great letter of recommendation. If necessary, please do follow up gently with your request, and I wish you all the best in your career journey. Until next time, here on DARI TV, bye!